Ozark Season 4, Part 1 is out on Netflix. It came out last Friday, and I just right now, not even 20 minutes ago, finished the first part of that season. I'm going to discuss my thoughts about this season. I am completely raw. It is fresh. Nothing is structured about this video. I just want to talk about it. The show is absolutely beautiful in every way. What a fantastic production. I gotta say, Ozark might be one of the best TV shows I have ever watched in my life. And I think I gotta already put this show on my top 5 shows of all time. And it's not even completely done yet. I'm going to start this off really quickly by saying, if you have not watched part 1 of season 4, come back to this video when you have. If you have not watched Ozark as a whole, I once again suggest you watch the show. Go to season 1 right now, stop my video, and go watch Ozark. And part 3 of this, if you have not subscribed to the channel, I think you know what I'm about to say or what you should do. Subscribe to the channel. You know what? I'm going to begin here. The acting is unbelievable. Not many people know this, but I am a huge Jason Bateman fan. I pretty much love everything he does, whether it be comedy, drama, or whatever. If Jason Bateman's attached, I'm going to watch it. I think this show, the fact that he has produced it, directed it, written it, acts in it as a main character, I think just proves that Jason Bateman is capable of a lot of things, not just his usual dry humor we are used to seeing him in. Once again, if you have not watched Ozark, watch this because you will get a completely different version of Jason Bateman. How about other people like Linney? Awesome. Julia Garner? Awesome. Felix Solis? Awesome. Even the kids, Sophia Hublitz and Skylar Gartner, awesome. I could keep on going about how awesome the acting in this show is, but the only thing that will do it justice is if you watch it, which if you have, good, and if you haven't, watch it. The tagline of this season is no one gets out clean. This first half of the season so far is absolute proof of that. I am going to be getting into spoilers here, so if you don't want to hear it, turn away, but here I go. After the past 3 years of money laundering and drug trafficking, it is finally coming to the time where Marty Byrde and his family are trying to get out clean and as safe as possible. And of course, when doing so, we get introduced to a new villain, which, by the way, this show does fantastically. It introduces antagonists at its perfect level. I don't think this show has ever had one disappointing antagonist. But of course, this time, the new villain we're introduced to is Omar Navarro's nephew, Javi. And this guy is just a hothead and, in all honesty, a big baby. He thinks because his mother is sisters with Omar that he deserves a piece, if not the entire empire, of his uncles, and he just becomes a thorn in Marty's side. Now, what this show has always been good at is having multiple stories at once. They find ways not just to keep them interesting, but to make sure the show isn't drowning with too much. Like, you can properly keep up with every storyline they develop, and in this season so far, you have been able to do that as good as the past 3 seasons. There is certainly a lot going on in this season. A couple I'll just name off here. Marty and Wendy trying to secure freedom of passage for Omar Navarro in the States and Mexico. And that is obviously going to have Marty dealing with the FBI and keeping close connection with those people and Omar. There's a lot going on there. Also, Marty trying to keep Javi off of the scent that Omar wants out of the cartel business. That ain't easy either. Wendy entering a business with a company called Shaw, which will only make the cartel richer with how much more drug laundering they're going to be doing. It also helps Wendy and Marty with the influx of cash they can get from this deal, and also the fact that Wendy has her own side gig where she is trying to grow her political power. How about the son, Jonah? He is absolutely furious with his mother that she got his uncle killed. And now he's rebelling and leaving the family business to go work with Ruth and the Snells. Or how about Charlotte? This is more of a smaller story, but Charlotte doesn't want to go to college. She's too much of a free thinker like her mother and father. Too much of this risky, powerful entrepreneur. She doesn't want to go to college. She wants to follow in her parents' footsteps. That's almost kind of a storyline on its own as well. And then we get even deeper with Darlene still selling dope. And the cartel has specifically told Marty and Wendy to tell her to stop because now the cartel basically own that land. So they don't want anyone else dealing on that land. But of course, Darlene ain't gonna listen. And then you have Ruth, who finds her way to be in the middle of all of these problems, and we get to see how she navigates them. I swear right there, that's over 6, 7, 8 storylines. And yet, it's still easy to follow, and it keeps you invested. And before I forget, I do have to mention this. The soundtrack is beautiful. It is so captivating. It's dark. It's gritty, it's bassy, and I love bass in my music. I absolutely love it. And it's just very monotone, almost a little creepy in some ways. The music absolutely captures what the show is about, that dark, gritty type of world, but also stressful and high amounts of anxiety. This show will give you that. Fair warning if you still haven't seen it. This show gives you mass amounts of anxiety, but that's what keeps you on your toes. And I gotta say that is the downfall of the season, is that it is a part 1 and 2 season, so we don't know when part 2's coming out. Although it might be kind of smart on their part because it does leave us wanting more. Now, I was mentioning that this show does a really good job with antagonists. And I do have to say, more often than not, I do believe this show has more antagonists than they do protagonists. And that's fine. There's absolutely no problem with that. But sometimes when a show or a movie gets flooded with more antagonists than protagonists, it starts to drag a little bit because you almost start to feel like the good side can never come out and win. And sometimes bad guys need to meet their end. It's just how it has to work. I'm looking at this cast list right now, and I'm looking at quite a few people who could be considered an antagonist. You obviously have the main ones like Omar Navarro. You obviously have Javi, the new one. Even in season 1, we've seen the Langmores kind of act as villains, other than Ruth, of course, because she did come around to Marty's side in the end of it. You can't forget the Snells, and you also can't forget the Kansas City mob. And believe it or not, I'm gonna add this person to the list of antagonists. Wendy. Laura Linney. I think Wendy is an antagonist. I think she tends to be more of a villain than she is a hero. She is sneaky. She plays dirty. She always has an ulterior motive. In this season, she was literally risking to throw her son under the bus for money laundering, which of course he won't go to jail because he's still a minor, but she was literally playing with the idea of getting the authorities involved with her son because she was losing the battle of who should be mad at who, her to her son or her son to her. Newsflash, Wendy, you did get your brother killed. Something I was also thinking about with Wendy as well is that when you look at Marty throughout the entire show, you could tell both of these characters, Marty and Wendy, were bored with their lives and they needed something to spice it up. And this certainly spiced up their lives, maybe not in the way they wanted it to, but Who are you to complain at this point? You can tell Marty does get a thrill from laundering and dealing in certain ways. But I believe Marty is now at that point in his life of doing these types of criminal activities that he thinks to himself, okay, I've had my fun. We've done what we've done. It's time to get our family out safely and move on normally with our lives again. I'm done with this. Although with Wendy, you can tell she loves this thrill and she loves the risk and she wants to keep doing it, even if that means risking the safety of her family. Because she always seems to have the same callback. Don't worry. We'll be fine. I have this under control, blah, blah, blah. Wendy likes this world much more than Marty, and I think if she had it completely her way, they wouldn't be getting out of this life. And quickly bringing it back to the tagline of this season, no one gets out clean. Yes, I think that's true. I don't think anyone does get out clean, and we're going to see that in the last part of the last season. Now, to continue this about too many antagonists being in a show, this season has a ton of antagonists, and we're already getting rid of some. By the end of episode 7, which is the end of the first part of season 4, maybe, so far we can't really tell, but that may have been the last we've seen of Omar Navarro. Just, for an example, let's say that is the last we see him, we can mark him off. Now we have a new one in Javi, he ain't going nowhere. For God's sake, when was Darlene Snell finally gonna bite the bullet? And pun absolutely intended, because she does eat a bullet in this last episode of part 1 of season 4. Now, it is very unfortunate, not that Javi killed Darlene, but he did also shoot Wyatt in the head, which has sent Ruth overboard. So with a show that has tons of antagonists, it is awesome that they got rid of Darlene. The Darlene character is just absolute trash and scum, and that character needed to be done and gone with. If there's one thing that her character, and mainly Wyatt's character, if there's one thing that their deaths gave us, it was the absolute volcanic argument that Ruth has with Marty and Wendy at the end of the episode. She has gone off the rails and is now exacting revenge on Javi. Not really sure how that's going to turn out. You can't just walk up to a cartel crime lord, shoot him, chuck the shotgun on your back, and walk away into the sunset. Can't really be doing that, so I don't know what the plan is here. If anything, she's got to be stopped, because if she's not, she is going to die. Most importantly, you know what? I need to go look at it right now. If she does not have an acting award, that's absolutely garbage to me, because this woman is phenomenal. She plays Ruth so goddamn well. She better have one. She better have one. Beautiful. She has won 2 Primetime Emmy Awards, 2019 and 2020. She won them for Ruth Langmore in Ozark. Awesome. That scene alone in that final episode of part 1, she deserves another award. I hope she gets it. She is amazing. I also just want to give a quick shout out to Robin Wright. If some of you don't know who she is an actress known for movies like Forrest Gump, Unbreakable. Most recently, she's been in things like the House of Cards TV series, Blade Runner 2049, Wonder Woman, Zack Snyder's Justice League, stuff like that. She did direct the last 2 episodes of part 1. God, were they good. The cinematography, simply put, the direction, taking words on a screenplay and finding ways to direct imagery in this way is not easy, but she did it, and she did it well. Now, how this show is gonna end, you got me. I don't know. This show constantly finds ways to surprise me, and I have no doubts that it is going to end very, very surprising. Who knows how many people end up dying by the end of it? Who knows who's gonna end up getting away with all this scot-free? All I will say is, look, if Ozark found a way to last 5-6 seasons, you wouldn't see me complaining, but sometimes TV shows do overstay their welcome. I am just glad they are choosing to end Ozark sooner rather than later when it becomes too late, too messy, and not as interesting as it is now. I do have a couple of theories on how this show could completely end, and I will probably make a video of that later on sometime in the near future, just before part 2 does end up coming out. But overall, part 1 of season 4 did its job. It sucked me in, and I just can't wait for part 2 because I can't wait to see how they wrap up this entire story. So everyone, if you are a fan of Ozark and if you have seen the first part of season 4, leave in the comments below what you think of the show or what you think could possibly happen by the end of the show. But that's it for this one, everyone. And until next time, I will talk to you all very soon.